Have you ever replayed the same conversation in your head for hours? Or spent days thinking about a decision that should have taken minutes? Or imagined every possible future outcome before taking action? If yes, you're not alone. Most people think overthinking happens because they care too much. But the real reason is much deeper. Overthinking is often a safety mechanism. Your brain believes that if it can think long enough, it can avoid mistakes, avoid embarrassment, avoid failure, avoid uncertainty. The problem is, life doesn't work that way. No amount of thinking can remove uncertainty completely. Yet, your brain keeps trying. Why? Because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. The human brain prefers predictable pain over unpredictable outcomes. That's why many people stay trapped inside their thoughts. Thinking feels safer than acting. When you act, you risk failure. When you think, you stay protected. At least that's what the brain believes. The strange thing is that overthinking feels productive. You feel busy. You feel like you're working on the problem. But often, nothing is actually moving forward. The mind is simply running in circles. The brain keeps searching for a perfect answer, a perfect plan, a perfect decision. But perfection doesn't exist. And because it doesn't exist, the thinking never ends. One of the biggest causes of overthinking is fear of making the wrong choice. Many people believe every decision must be perfect. The right career, the right opportunity, the right timing, the right path. But life rarely reveals the correct path in advance. Most clarity comes after action, not before it. That's what overthinkers struggle to accept. They want certainty before movement. But certainty is usually created through movement, not through analysis. Another reason people overthink is self-doubt. When you don't trust yourself, every decision feels dangerous. Your brain starts questioning everything. What if I'm wrong? What if this fails? What if I regret it later? And because the brain wants to avoid emotional pain, it keeps collecting more information, more opinions, more advice, more research. But the problem isn't lack of information, it's lack of trust. Many people already know what they need to do. They're just afraid to do it. Overthinking also creates a dangerous illusion, the illusion of control. The brain believes that if it thinks hard enough, it can control the future. But nobody can. Life will always contain uncertainty. And learning to tolerate uncertainty is one of the most important psychological skills you can develop. Because growth always lives inside uncertainty. New opportunities, new relationships, new experiences, new goals. All require stepping into the unknown. Yet overthinking convinces you to stay where it's safe. The irony is that overthinking often creates the exact problems it's trying to prevent. You delay decisions, miss opportunities, lose confidence, increase anxiety, and eventually become mentally exhausted. Not because life is difficult, because your mind never gets a break. Every thought becomes another problem to solve, another scenario to analyze, another possibility to predict. Eventually, the brain becomes overloaded. That's why overthinkers often feel tired even when they've done very little physically. Thinking consumes energy, especially repetitive thinking. So how do you break the cycle? The first step is awareness. Notice when thinking stops being useful. Useful thinking creates clarity. Overthinking creates confusion. The second step is accepting uncertainty. You do not need all the answers before taking action. You only need enough information to take the next step. And the final step is building self-trust. Because the opposite of overthinking isn't certainty, it's trust. Trust that you'll handle whatever happens. Trust that you'll learn if things go wrong. Trust that you don't need a perfect plan to move forward. The truth is, your future will not be shaped by the thoughts you repeat endlessly. It will be shaped by the actions you take despite uncertainty. And that's what overthinking tries to prevent. Action. Because action requires courage. But courage is exactly what breaks the cycle. So the next time your mind starts running in circles, ask yourself, am I trying to solve the problem or am I trying to avoid uncertainty? Because that question alone can change everything.